White roses are trembling in my hands, and this suit doesn't belong to me. It was meant for Travis, my older brother, who should be standing here instead of me right now. But he ran away. Yes, just like in those dramatic movies, he eloped with his secret lover and left me here at the altar, facing his fiancé like some kind of sacrificial offering. My name is Nolan, 22 years old, architecture student and now apparently an emergency groom. Standing across from me is Dashiell Westbrook, 31, business mogul with a face so expressionless it makes my stomach drop. His gray eyes are fixed on me with an intensity that feels like he's evaluating whether I'm worth keeping or discarding. The officiant is reciting vows that were written for someone else. Guests are murmuring in hushed tones. I can hear fragments of their conversations drifting toward me like poison. Where did Travis go? Why is the younger brother standing there? What kind of spectacle is this? Spectacle? For them, maybe. For me, this is a waking nightmare I can't escape from. Nolan. Dashiell's voice cuts through my thoughts low but razor sharp. You understand this arrangement is purely contractual, correct? I force myself to meet his gaze. There's a rigid line along his jaw, as though he's restraining himself from showing any real emotion. I understand. Good. Then let's conclude this performance. He slides the wedding band onto my finger. The metal feels cold, constricting, like invisible chains locking around my entire existence. My turn comes next. I take his hand to place the ring on his finger, noticing how warm and solid his touch feels against mine. For one fleeting moment, I allow myself to imagine this might actually mean something real. But then he pulls his hand away quickly, almost as if my touch burned him somehow. Congratulations, the officiant announces with forced cheerfulness. You are now legally married. Legally married. The words echo in my head, but they feel completely disconnected from reality, as if I've stepped into someone else's life and can't find my way back to my own. The reception unfolds in uncomfortable silence. Travis's friends deliberately avoid making eye contact with me. Dashiell's business associates offer polite smiles that don't reach their eyes. And Dashiell himself? He's positioned in a corner, absorbed in his phone, acting as though I've simply ceased to exist in his world. My mother pulls me aside during a quiet moment. Nolan, sweetheart, please, keep Dashiell satisfied. Our company depends entirely on his financial backing. What Travis did was already devastating enough. You can make some accommodations, can't you? Accommodations. That single word feels like a knife twisting in my chest. Mom, I just gave up my entire future to fix Travis's mistake, and now you want me to compromise even more? Tears well up in her eyes, making them glisten under the harsh reception lighting. Please, Nolan, for the family. I can't bring myself to respond because this is what I've always done. Listened, obeyed, made myself smaller so others could be bigger. Later that night, when I arrive at Dashiell's mansion, a security guard escorts me to my room. Except it's not really a room, it's more like a converted storage space. Small, bare, completely impersonal. This is where I'll be staying? I ask, unable to hide my confusion. The guard shifts awkwardly, clearly uncomfortable with the situation. Sir instructed us to prepare this space for you. So this is my wedding night? Alone in a forgotten corner of this massive house, where even my breathing sounds too loud in the emptiness? I sink onto the bed and bury my face in my hands, trying to process everything that's happened. Until today, I never imagined my life could transform so drastically in just a few hours. Travis didn't just break an engagement, he shattered my sense of self, my future, my identity. A knock on the door startles me from my thoughts. Dashiell enters, still wearing his wedding suit, though his tie is loosened now. His eyes look exhausted, but that cold detachment remains firmly in place. Breakfast is at 7 tomorrow morning. Be punctual, and understand something clearly. He pauses, as if choosing his words carefully. In this house you won't receive any preferential treatment. You're here solely as part of this arrangement. Arrangement, I repeat, and a laugh escapes me despite myself, bitter and sad. Of course, he turns to leave, but something compels me to stop him. He doesn't turn around, just stops walking. Doesn't it bother you that Travis abandoned you? Several seconds of heavy silence pass between us. Then he speaks, his voice eerily calm. It only bothers you when emotions are involved. I never loved Travis. He walks away, leaving me standing there in stunned silence. I remain frozen in place, confused, wounded and grappling with a strange sensation I can't quite identify. If he never loved Travis, then why did this marriage happen in the first place? And why did he agree to take me as a replacement? Perhaps I'll never know the answer. Perhaps some questions aren't meant to be answered at all. But as I finally collapse onto the unfamiliar bed in this unfamiliar room, one thought keeps circling through my mind. This arrangement might be temporary for him, but it feels devastatingly permanent for me. Tomorrow morning, I'll wake up as someone's husband. Not because anyone chose me, not because anyone wanted me, but because I was convenient. Because I was there. Because I've always been the backup plan, the second choice, the one who gets picked when the favorite option disappears. I close my eyes and try to sleep, but rest doesn't come easily. Instead, I lie awake listening to the sounds of this enormous house settling around me. Creaking floors, distant footsteps, the hum of expensive appliances. Everything here is beautiful and cold, just like the man I've just married. Somewhere in another wing of this mansion, Dashiell is probably already asleep, having completely forgotten about the unexpected husband now residing under his roof. And here I am, wide awake, wondering how my life spiraled so completely out of my control in less than 24 hours. The white roses from the ceremony are still clutched in my hand, wilting now, their petals beginning to brown at the edges. I set them on the nightstand and stare at them in the darkness. They look exactly how I feel, beautiful on the surface, but dying slowly from the inside. This is my life now. This is what sacrifice looks like. This is what happens when you're the dependable son, the obedient brother, the one who always puts everyone else first. And somehow I have to find a way to survive it. Morning arrives exactly at 7. I'm seated at the dining table, watching Dashiell read his newspaper while mechanically sipping coffee, as though I'm completely transparent to him. A housekeeper places breakfast before me. Toast, scrambled eggs, orange juice. Everything looks perfect and utterly devoid of warmth. Good morning, I offer, hoping to establish some semblance of normalcy between us. He doesn't lower the newspaper. Morning. That's the extent of our interaction. Just that single word, delivered without any genuine acknowledgement of my presence. I begin eating in oppressive silence. Each bite feels difficult to swallow, weighed down by the awkwardness saturating the space between us. After several agonizing minutes, he finally speaks again. When do your classes resume? The question catches me off guard. The day after tomorrow. Final year of architecture. Understood. He folds the newspaper with precise movements and sets it aside. My driver will transport you. When you're outside this house, don't introduce yourself as Mrs. Westbrook. Keep using Nolan, just Nolan. Mrs. Westbrook. The title sounds absurd, attached to my identity, like wearing clothes that belong to someone else entirely. Take this. He slides a black credit card across the polished table surface. For any expenses you might incur. But exercise discretion, no frivolous purchases. I stare at the card as if it might explode. I don't think I need. This isn't a request, he interrupts, his tone brooking no argument. You're part of this household now. People associated with me maintain a certain standard of independence. Independence? Or is this just another form of control disguised as generosity? I reluctantly pick up the card, and the moment my fingers close around it, I feel like I've sold something intangible but precious about myself. Dashiell stands abruptly. I'm heading to the office. I won't return until late evening. If you need anything, speak with Mrs. Klein, the housekeeper. Then he's gone. No goodbye, no backward glance. Nothing to suggest he remembers I exist once I'm out of his immediate sight. Alone at the expansive dining table, I mutter to myself, welcome to married life, Nolan. Living the dream. Returning to university proves even more challenging than I anticipated. Word has spread like wildfire about Travis's dramatic escape, how he abandoned his engagement at the last possible moment to marry someone he'd been secretly seeing. And my role in this scandal, I'm the replacement brother, the family's desperate attempt to salvage their reputation and business connections. My best friend Milo corners me in the campus cafeteria the moment he spots me. Are you actually serious right now? You went through with marrying him? Milo, I had absolutely no choice in the matter. I whisper urgently. not wanting to attract more attention than I've already received. My family forced this situation. But Dashiell Westbrook? Everyone knows he's completely unapproachable. Does the man even possess the ability to smile? I rotate my coffee cup between my hands, watching the liquid swirl. Not that I've witnessed. I'm fairly certain he resents my existence. Resents you? Or just doesn't acknowledge you at all? Is there really a difference? Both feel equally devastating from where I'm standing. That evening when I return to the mansion, the place feels cavernous and empty. Mrs. Klein informs me that Dashiell called to say he'll be working late. Again, I retreat to my small room and attempt to focus on my architecture project. But concentration proves impossible. Every few minutes, I find myself glancing toward the door, irrationally hoping he might appear. He doesn't. It's well past midnight when I finally hear his car pulling into the driveway. I'm lying on my bed, wide awake despite my exhaustion. His footsteps echo through the hallway, slow and heavy with fatigue. He goes directly to the master bedroom without even pausing near my door. A thought begins forming in my mind. Will he ever interact with me like an actual person? Or will this arrangement remain exactly as sterile and distant as it is right now? My phone illuminates with an incoming message. It's from Travis. Nolan, I apologize for everything. I know I've created an impossible situation for you, but I had to follow what my heart was telling me. I hope eventually you'll understand. Follow his heart? What about my heart? Where did I leave mine in all of this chaos? I don't respond because what could I possibly say? That I'm paying the price for his selfish decisions. That I'm trapped in a marriage where my husband treats me like an inconvenient obligation. A dangerous thought crosses my mind. Maybe I should run away too, just like Travis did. But then I remember my mother's tear-filled eyes, her desperate plea, and I know with absolute certainty that I could never disappear like that. Because I'm Nolan, the son who always sacrifices his own desires for everyone else's comfort. 3 days pass in this same pattern. Dashiell leaves early, returns late, and we exchange maybe a dozen words total. I attend classes, work on assignments, and come home to an empty house. Miss Klein tries to make conversation, but even she seems uncomfortable with the strange dynamic between Dashiell and me. On the fourth morning, something different happens. I'm in the kitchen helping Mrs. Klein prepare breakfast when Dashiell walks in. Not to grab something quickly and leave, but actually entering the space deliberately. "You cook?" he asks, sounding genuinely surprised as he watches me whisking eggs. A little, I admit, suddenly self-conscious. I find it relaxing. He stands there for a moment longer than necessary, and I can feel his gaze on me even though I'm not looking directly at him. Then, without another word, he leaves for work. It's a small moment, barely worth noting, but it feels significant somehow, like the tiniest crack appearing in an enormous wall between us. That evening, I make a decision. If he won't make an effort to acknowledge this marriage, then maybe I need to. Not because I have any romantic illusions, but because living like strangers under the same roof is slowly suffocating me. I spend the afternoon preparing dinner. Nothing elaborate, just pasta with a homemade sauce, fresh bread and a simple salad. When Dashiell arrives home, I'm setting the table. He stops in the doorway, clearly surprised to find me there. "What's this?" "Dinner," I say simply. "I thought maybe we could eat together. Just once." He looks at the food, then at me, his expression unreadable. For a long moment I think he's going to refuse to make some excuse about work calls or prior commitments. Then he nods slowly. "All right, just this once." We sit across from each other, and for the first time since this nightmare began, there's a possibility, however small, that maybe we're not complete strangers after all. 3 weeks into this arrangement, and our lives have settled into a predictable rhythm. Dashiell maintains his routine of leaving before dawn and returning after dark, while I navigate my final year of architecture school and try to ignore the hollow feeling that's taken up permanent residence in my chest. But today something shifts. I'm in the kitchen again, having discovered that cooking is the only activity that quiets the constant anxiety humming through my body. Mrs. Klein is at the market, so I'm alone, chopping vegetables for a stir-fry while classical music plays softly from my phone. The front door opens earlier than usual. I glance at the clock, it's only 6 in the evening. Dashiell never comes home this early. His footsteps approach the kitchen, and then he's standing in the doorway, jacket draped over one arm, tie already loosened. He looks exhausted, with shadows under his eyes that I haven't noticed before. "You're cooking again," he observes, and there's something different in his tone. Not quite warmth, but maybe the absence of coldness. "I enjoy it," I reply, keeping my voice neutral. "There's plenty if you want some." I expect him to decline, to retreat to his study with some excuse about conference calls or business reports. Instead, he sets his jacket on a chair and rolls up his sleeves. "What are you making?" The question is so unexpected that I fumble with the knife, nearly dropping it. "Just stir-fry. Nothing fancy. Can I help?" I must be hallucinating. Dashiell Westbrook, the man who has barely acknowledged my existence for 3 weeks, is offering to help me cook. "You want to help?" "I'm capable of following instructions," he says, and there's the faintest hint of amusement in his expression. "Unless you prefer working alone." "No," I quickly gesture toward the cutting board. "You could slice those mushrooms if you want." We work in companionable silence for a while, the rhythmic sound of chopping filling the space between us. I'm hyper-aware of his presence beside me, the way his movements are efficient and precise, how he occasionally glances my way as if checking whether he's doing it correctly. "Your project," he says suddenly, "the sustainable housing design. How is that progressing?" I'm so startled by the personal question that I nearly add too much soy sauce to the pan. "It's challenging. I'm trying to create affordable housing that's also environmentally responsible, but balancing cost and sustainability is complicated. Most worthwhile things are complicated." He finishes with the mushrooms and moves them to the pan I'm working with. "What's your approach?" And just like that, we're having an actual conversation. I explain my concept: modular units that can be assembled quickly using recycled materials and incorporating solar panels and rainwater collection systems. He listens intently, occasionally asking questions that reveal he's genuinely interested in what I'm saying. "The construction industry resists change," he comments as we sit down to eat. "Your ideas would challenge a lot of established practices." "Maybe that's what the industry needs," I counter, surprising myself with my boldness. "Change." He takes a bite of the stir-fry and I hold my breath waiting for his reaction. "This is excellent," he says finally. "Where did you learn to cook like this?" "YouTube videos and trial and error." I admit, my mom worked long hours, so I started experimenting in the kitchen when I was young. It became a way to de-stress. "Do you find this situation stressful?" The question is direct, and his gray eyes lock onto mine with unsettling intensity. I could lie. I could give some polite non-answer about adjustments and transitions. Instead, I tell the truth. Yes. Living with someone who acts like you don't exist is incredibly stressful. He sets down his fork and I immediately regret my honesty. But instead of getting angry, he exhales slowly. "You're right. I've been unfair to you." Those words hang in the air between us, unexpected and disarming. "This entire situation," he continues, "wasn't what either of us planned. I handled it poorly, taking out my frustration on you when you're just as much a victim of circumstance as I am." "Why did you agree to this?" I ask quietly. "You could have called everything off when Travis left. Why accept me as a substitute?" Dashiell is silent for so long I think he won't answer. Then he speaks, his voice carefully controlled. "My father died 2 years ago. Before he passed, he made me promise I would build a family, create something beyond just business and money. When Travis's family proposed the marriage alliance, it seemed like a logical way to fulfill that promise. But you didn't love him." "No." The admission is stark, unvarnished. "I thought marriage could be pragmatic, a partnership based on mutual benefit rather than emotion. I was wrong, obviously. And now? What do you think now?" He looks at me then, really looks at me, and something in his expression makes my breath catch. Now I think I've been given an unexpected chance to reconsider what partnership might actually mean. The moment stretches between us, charged with possibility. Then he stands, beginning to clear the dishes, and the spell breaks. "Let me," I say, reaching for his plate. "We'll do it together," he counters. "You cooked, so it's only fair I help clean." We work side by side at the sink, the domesticity of the moment feeling surreal after weeks of careful distance. I wash while he dries, and it's strangely comfortable, Like we've done this 1,000 times before instead of this being our first real interaction. Nolan, he says as he's putting away the last plate, would you want to have breakfast together tomorrow? Actually sit and talk, not just occupy the same space? Hope flutters tentatively in my chest. I'd like that. Good. He hesitates, then adds, and maybe we could establish some new ground rules. This arrangement doesn't have to be as cold and formal as I've made it. What kind of rules? For starters, you shouldn't be staying in that storage room. There are several proper guest suites. Choose whichever one you prefer. The offer catches me off guard. You want me to move to a different room? I want you to feel less like an unwanted obligation and more like someone who actually lives here. His expression is earnest, almost vulnerable. We're going to be sharing this space for the foreseeable future. We might as well make it bearable for both of us. Bearable. It's not exactly a romantic declaration, but it's infinitely better than being invisible. Thank you, I say softly. For dinner, for the conversation, for this. He nods, and for just a second his hand brushes against mine on the counter. Warm, solid, real. Get some rest, Nolan. Tomorrow we'll start over. After he leaves, I stand in the kitchen replaying every word of our conversation. It wasn't much, just one shared meal. One honest discussion, but it felt like the first genuine human interaction I've had since this nightmare began. Maybe this arrangement doesn't have to stay broken. Maybe there's a possibility, however slim, of building something functional out of these shattered pieces. I head upstairs to explore the guest suites he mentioned, choosing one with large windows overlooking the garden. As I'm settling in, my phone buzzes with a message. It's from Dashiell. Sleep well, see you at breakfast. 3 simple sentences. But they make me smile for the first time in weeks. Perhaps tomorrow won't be quite as lonely as today. Perhaps we're both learning that being stuck together doesn't mean we have to be strangers. Perhaps there's hope after all. The following week brings unexpected changes to our carefully constructed routine. Dashiell has started coming home earlier, sometimes joining me for dinner, occasionally even appearing during morning coffee. We don't talk extensively, but the silence between us has transformed into something almost comfortable. I find myself settling into a rhythm with him, sketching architectural designs while he reviews financial reports, existing in the same space without the previous tension. Everything shifts the afternoon Milo visits our home. This place is absolutely incredible. Milo stands in the living room, practically spinning in circles as he takes in the high ceilings and expensive artwork. You're living in an actual mansion, I laugh despite myself. More like existing in one. There's a difference. We settle onto the expansive sofa to work on our group assignments. A comprehensive urban planning project due next week. Milo has always been naturally affectionate, the kind of person who punctuates conversations with casual touches. A hand on the shoulder here, a playful shove there. I've never really noticed before, probably because it never mattered. But today, when Dashiell arrives home unexpectedly early, I suddenly become hyper-aware of every point of contact. He enters the living room carrying his briefcase, and his entire body goes rigid when he spots Milo sitting close beside me, our laptops nearly overlapping on the coffee table. Dashiell. I jump to my feet, startled by his early arrival. This is Milo, my classmate from university. We're collaborating on an assignment. Milo stands as well, extending his hand with his characteristic easy smile. It's great to finally meet you, Mr. Westbrook. Nolan mentions you quite often. Dashiell accepts the handshake, but I notice his grip seems unusually firm and there's something dangerous flickering in his gray eyes. Something I've never witnessed before. Does he? Dashiell's voice remains perfectly level, but I detect an underlying edge that makes my stomach tighten. How interesting that Nolan discusses our household with classmates. Oh, just casual stuff, Milo continues, oblivious to the tension crackling in the air. He mentioned how demanding your work schedule is. But hey, that's why I'm here, keeping him company when you're tied up with business matters. I shoot Milo a warning glance that he completely misses. Dashiell's jaw clenches visibly. How remarkably thoughtful of you. However, I assure you that Nolan receives adequate support and companionship within these walls. The atmosphere becomes suffocatingly awkward. Milo shifts uncomfortably, finally picking up on the hostile undercurrents. Right, well, I should probably head out anyway. We can finish this tomorrow at campus, Nolan. After Milo leaves, the silence that descends feels oppressive and charged. Dashiell removes his jacket with sharp, controlled movements and walks directly to the bar, pouring himself whiskey without offering any explanation. What's wrong? I ask, crossing the room toward him. Nothing's wrong. He drains the glass in one swift motion. Something I've never seen him do before. Something is clearly bothering you. The way you acted toward Milo was completely out of character. He sets the glass down with more force than necessary. Out of character? You think my behavior was problematic? Yes. You barely acknowledged him properly, and then you made that territorial comment about, because he was practically attached to you. Dashiell's voice rises suddenly, and I'm genuinely shocked. In all our time together, I've never heard him raise his voice. He couldn't keep his hands off you for 5 consecutive minutes. I'm genuinely confused now. He's just my friend, Dashiell. We were working on a project, nothing more. Friend. He repeats the word like it tastes bitter. Friends don't need to maintain constant physical contact during academic collaboration, and suddenly, understanding crashes over me. Wait, are you actually jealous right now? Dashiell's eyes snap to mine, sharp and defensive. I'm not experiencing jealousy. Then what would you call this reaction? This is... He runs his hand through his hair in frustration, disrupting his usually perfect appearance. You're under my protection, Nolan. I simply don't want anyone taking advantage of your trusting nature or behaving inappropriately around you. Protection. That familiar word again, creating distance between us just when I thought we were getting closer. So this is about protecting me? I take a step forward, emboldened by something I can't quite name. Or is this about something else entirely? Dashiell remains silent, his breathing noticeably heavier. Then he moves toward me, closing the distance until I can smell his cologne, expensive and woody, and feel the heat radiating from his body. Nolan, he says, his voice dropping to something low and intense. If I'm completely honest with you right now, are you prepared to handle that truth? My heart is hammering so hard I'm certain he can hear it. What truth? His gaze drops briefly to my lips before returning to my eyes. That I don't see you as merely a convenient arrangement anymore. That hasn't been true for quite some time. I forget how to breathe properly. These past weeks, he continues, his words coming faster now. You've transformed this house into something that actually feels like a home. Your presence in the kitchen, the way you light up discussing your architectural concepts, how you hum while watering the plants, all these small details have shown me what it means to truly live rather than simply exist. And today, walking in to find him so close to you, touching you so casually, something inside me rejected that image violently. Why? I whisper, needing to hear him articulate it clearly. Because the thought of losing you, of watching someone else claim the space beside you that I've been too stubborn and scared to occupy myself. That possibility became suddenly intolerable. I'm stunned into silence. This is the same man who barely spoke to me for weeks, who relegated me to a storage room, who treated our marriage like a business transaction. Dashiell, I reach up tentatively, placing my palm against his face, half expecting him to pull away. He doesn't. Instead, he leans slightly into my touch, his eyes closing briefly. I need to know, he says, his voice rough with vulnerability I never knew he possessed. Do you have feelings for him? For Milo? No, I answer immediately, with absolute certainty. He's just a friend. There's never been anything romantic between us. In us? His eyes open, searching mine with almost desperate intensity. Is there a possibility of something here? Or am I imagining this connection? Instead of answering with words, I rise onto my toes and press my lips to his, tentative at first, testing, asking permission. For one endless second, he remains completely still and panic floods through me. Then his arms wrap around me, pulling me closer as he kisses me back with a hunger that steals my breath away. When we finally break apart, we're both gasping slightly, foreheads pressed together, sharing the same air. I'm not going anywhere, I tell him firmly. You don't have to worry about losing me. Promise me, he whispers, and the vulnerability in his voice breaks something open inside my chest. Promise you'll stay. I promise. He pulls me into a tight embrace and I press my face against his chest, listening to his heartbeat gradually slow to a steadier rhythm. Something fundamental has shifted between us tonight. We've crossed a line that can never be uncrossed. This marriage might have begun as a desperate arrangement, a way to salvage damaged reputations and business relationships. But standing here in his arms, feeling the solid reality of his presence, I realize it's becoming something entirely different, something genuine, something worth fighting for. I had foolishly believed that after Dashiell's confession, everything would magically fall into place. But reality rarely cooperates with our hopeful expectations. 2 days later, I'm returning from campus when I spot an unfamiliar luxury vehicle parked prominently in our circular driveway. My stomach drops the moment I recognize it. Travis's car. He's here. The moment I step through the front door, raised voices reach me from the living room. Dashiell and Travis, clearly in the middle of a heated discussion. I move closer but remain hidden just outside the doorway, my heart pounding. I want you to grant Nolan a divorce. Travis is saying, his tone insistent. This entire situation is fundamentally wrong. Wrong? Dashiell's voice carries a dangerous edge I've rarely heard. You abandoned our engagement without warning, and now you have the audacity to lecture me about ethics? I know I made terrible choices, Travis admits, guilt evident in his voice. But dragging Nolan into this mess, using him as some kind of replacement, he's my brother. He deserves to live his own life, make his own choices. Perhaps you should have considered his welfare before you ran off chasing your romantic fantasies. I can't stay hidden any longer. I push open the door and step into the room. Travis, what are you doing here? Both men turn toward me immediately. Travis looks uncomfortable and guilty while Dashiell appears tense, his shoulders rigid with barely controlled emotion. Nolan, Travis approaches me cautiously. I came to get you out of this situation. This isn't the life you should be living. You don't get to decide what my life should look like, I say firmly, surprised by the strength in my own voice. That's not your call to make anymore. But you sacrificed everything because of my mistakes. I can't just stand by and watch you trapped? Anger flares hot in my chest. Anger I didn't even know I'd been suppressing. Where was your concern when you disappeared? You didn't even leave me a personal message, Travis. Just a brief note from Mom and Dad, and then you were gone. And now you show up here playing the hero. That's incredibly convenient timing. Travis looks genuinely shocked. He's never heard me speak to him this way, with such raw honesty and frustration. Nolan, I'm just trying to ease your own guilty conscience? I interrupt, stepping closer to him. Well, here's something you should understand. I'm not here under duress. I'm here because I choose to be. The words taste strange as I speak them. They would have been a lie a month ago. But now I genuinely don't know if they're false or true, and that uncertainty itself feels significant. Dashiell moves to stand beside me, his hand settling protectively on my lower back, a possessive gesture that somehow also feels comforting and right. You've received your answer, Travis, Dashiell says coolly. I think it's time you left. Travis looks between us, clearly noting our physical closeness, the unspoken connection that seems to exist in the space we share. Finally, he nods slowly, acceptance settling over his features. If you're genuinely happy here, Nolan, then I won't interfere further. He moves toward the exit but pauses at the threshold. But if you ever need anything, if circumstances change, I'm still your brother. I'll always be here for you. After he leaves, I release a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. Dashiell remains close beside me, his presence solid and reassuring. Are you all right? He asks quietly. I'm not entirely sure, I admit, turning to face him. Can I ask you something? When Travis mentioned divorce, what did you feel? Dashiell's eyes lock onto mine with startling intensity. I felt terrified that if you agreed, I wouldn't have any legitimate grounds to stop you. But I also knew I wouldn't let you go without expressing exactly how much you've come to mean to me. You would fight for me? Nolan, he says, taking my face gently between his hands. These past weeks with you have fundamentally changed me. Before you arrived, I was merely going through the motions of living, working, sleeping, existing in an emotional vacuum. Your cooking, your laughter, even those little quirks like how you talk to the houseplants while watering them. These small, beautiful details reminded me what it means to actually feel alive again. Tears spring to my eyes unexpectedly. Dashiell, if you want to leave, I won't physically prevent you. he continues, his thumbs brushing gently across my cheekbones. But if you choose to stay, I swear I'll never treat you as a mere obligation again. You deserve genuine affection, respect, and everything else I'm capable of giving you. I don't respond with words. Instead, I close the distance between us and kiss him. His lips are soft and warm, and after one frozen moment of surprise, he kisses me back with an intensity that feels almost desperate, as though he's been waiting for this forever. When we finally separate, we're both breathless, our hearts racing in synchronization. That's my answer, I whisper against his lips. I'm staying, I'm not going anywhere. He wraps his arms around me tightly, as if afraid I might disappear if he loosens his grip even slightly. I press my face against his chest, listening to the strong, steady rhythm of his heartbeat, and realize something profound. This marriage might have begun as a cold arrangement, a practical solution to an embarrassing problem. But it has transformed into something else entirely, something real, something precious, something worth protecting. The sun is setting outside the windows, painting the room in shades of gold and amber. In this moment, wrapped in Dashiell's embrace, I feel something I haven't felt since this entire situation began. Hope. Not the desperate, grasping kind of hope, but something quieter and more certain. The hope that comes from knowing you're exactly where you're supposed to be, with exactly the person you're meant to be with, even if the journey to get here was painful and complicated. Thank you, I murmur against his shirt. For what? He asks, his voice rumbling through his chest. For choosing me. For seeing me. His arms tighten around me. No, Nolan. Thank you for giving me a second chance to get this right. For being patient while I figured out what I actually wanted. For transforming a business arrangement into something that feels like the beginning of forever. We stand there together as darkness gradually falls outside, neither of us willing to break the spell of this perfect moment. Because we both understand without needing to say it aloud, that everything has changed now. We've crossed from pretending into something genuine, from obligation into choice, from strangers into something infinitely more meaningful. And there's no going back. 3 months pass, and our relationship evolves in ways I never dared to imagine during those first lonely weeks. Dashiell and I have become genuine partners, not just on paper but in every meaningful sense. He's no longer simply my husband by legal technicality. He's become my confidant, my support system, my home. Today marks my final project presentation, and nervous energy courses through my body as I prepare to defend my sustainable housing design before a panel of professors and industry professionals. The auditorium feels enormous and intimidating as I walk in, my portfolio clutched tightly in sweating hands. Then I see him. Dashiell is seated in the front row, dressed impeccably in a charcoal suit, and when our eyes meet, he offers me an encouraging smile that sends warmth flooding through my entire body. He actually came. Despite his demanding schedule and the important merger negotiations I know he's managing, he's here to support me. The presentation proceeds better than I hoped. My professors ask challenging questions, but I've prepared thoroughly, and my passion for creating affordable, environmentally responsible housing shines through in every answer. Still, what matters most to me isn't the academic approval. It's the pride I see radiating from Dashiell's expression as he watches me present ideas that could genuinely change lives. Afterward, as we're driving home, I reach over and lace my fingers through his. Thank you for being there today. It meant everything to me. He lifts my hand to his lips, pressing a gentle kiss to my knuckles. I'll be present for every important moment in your life, from now on. That's a promise. When we arrive home, Mrs. Klein greets us with unusual excitement, informing us that my parents have arrived unexpectedly for a visit. My stomach clenches with anxiety. We haven't seen them since the wedding, and I have no idea how they'll react to the obvious shift in our relationship. They're waiting in the living room, and the moment they see Dashiell and me enter together, his arm draped naturally around my waist, my mother's eyes widen with surprise. Nolan, she says carefully, you two seem different than before. We're happy, Mom, I reply simply, leaning slightly into Dashiell's solid presence beside me. Genuinely, truly happy. My father studies Dashiell with an unreadable expression. Do you actually love my son? This isn't just about maintaining appearances or business connections. Dashiell meets his gaze steadily before responding. Sir, I won't pretend this started as a love match. We both know the circumstances that brought us together. But Nolan has taught me what it means to build a real home, to create a partnership based on mutual respect and genuine caring. I don't just love him, I admire him, I value his presence in my life, and I'm committed to supporting his dreams and protecting his happiness for as long as he'll have me. My mother's eyes fill with tears. We forced you into this situation, Nolan. We never asked about your feelings, never considered what you wanted. We've been terrible parents. I cross the room and take her hands in mine. The beginning was painful. I won't deny that. But how things started doesn't dictate how they end. I found real love here, Mom. The kind of love that grows from truly knowing someone, from choosing them every single day. She pulls me into a tight embrace, and for the first time in years I feel like she's seeing me as a complete person, rather than just Travis's younger brother or a convenient solution to family problems. After my parents leave, Dashiell and I retreat to the rooftop terrace, where we can see stars beginning to emerge in the darkening sky. His arm is wrapped securely around my waist, and I rest my head on his shoulder, feeling utterly content. Did you ever imagine things would turn out this way? I ask softly. Never, he admits with a quiet laugh. I thought I'd spend my life alone, married to my work, going through prescribed motions without any real emotional connection. Then you arrived. This unexpected husband who accidentally became the most important person in my world. I lift my head to look at him. Accidentally? Perhaps accidentally isn't quite accurate, he concedes, cupping my face tenderly. Perhaps fate orchestrated this entire situation, knowing we needed each other. That's surprisingly romantic of you, I tease gently. I'm only romantic for you, he murmurs before kissing me, slow and sweet and full of unspoken promises about our future together. When we separate, he reaches into his jacket pocket and withdraws a small velvet box. My breath catches in my throat. What is this? He opens the box to reveal a new wedding band, distinctly different from the one I currently wear. This one has an inscription engraved on the inside, "Forever starts now." The first ring represented an arrangement, a business transaction. Dashiell explains as he carefully removes my original band and slides the new one onto my finger. This ring represents something entirely different, a conscious choice, genuine love, a real commitment between two people who found each other against all odds. Tears stream down my face, happy tears this time born from overwhelming joy rather than pain or frustration. Dashiell, Nolan, he says, taking both of my hands in his, will you marry me again? Not out of obligation or family pressure, but because you want to build a life with me, because you choose this, choose us, choose forever. Yes, I managed to say through my tears and laughter. 1,000 times yes. He lifts me completely off the ground, spinning us both in a circle while we laugh like teenagers experiencing first love. And perhaps in some ways that's exactly what this is. The first time either of us has experienced love that's healthy and mutual and built on solid foundations of respect and genuine affection. 2 weeks later, we hold a small, intimate ceremony with only our closest friends and family in attendance. This time, Travis comes with his partner, and he offers me a sincere apology that I accept with grace. Holding on to past resentments serves no useful purpose, and I've learned that forgiveness benefits the person offering it just as much as the one receiving it. As Dashiell and I exchange new vows, words we've written ourselves this time, expressing our genuine feelings rather than reciting prescribed phrases, I'm struck by the realization that sometimes the wrong beginning can lead to the perfect ending. I promise to choose you every single day, Dashiell says, his voice steady and sure. To support your architectural dreams, to pretend your experimental cooking disasters are delicious, and to love you with everything I am for as long as we both live. Laughter ripples through our small gathering, and I can barely speak through my happy tears. I promise to remind you daily that you're more than your business success. You're my home, my safe place, my partner in everything, I respond. And I'll always give you grief about drinking whiskey before dinner. More laughter, and then we're kissing while everyone applauds. But I'm only aware of Dashiell, this man who was once a stranger and has become my entire world. 1 year later, as I'm preparing to open my own architecture firm specializing in sustainable affordable housing, made possible by Dashiell's unwavering support, I find myself standing in the small room where I spent my first night in this mansion. What should we do with this space now? Dashiell asks, coming to stand beside me, our fingers naturally intertwining. I smile up at him. We could convert it into a nursery. Start planning for the family we want to build together. His eyes widen with surprised delight. Are you serious about this? Completely, I assure him, reaching up to touch his face tenderly. I'm ready for this next chapter. Are you? With you? I'm ready for anything and everything. As we kiss, I'm overwhelmed by gratitude for this unexpected journey. I came here as Travis's replacement, a convenient substitute to save face and preserve business relationships. But I became so much more. Dashiell's partner, his chosen person, his forever, and he became mine.